Thank you for coming.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure, having you here. I so this is the fourth shoot, but then I wanted to start my first shoot with you, and then based on your busy schedule,
Yeah.
and I was looking for your number everywhere. So a friend of mine said you need to get him there, and there's a lot of things in the community that I wanted to touch base on, like highlight. So I was like, yep, I need to, you know. So yeah, so I just want you to introduce yourself and then tell people who you are and
Yeah.
then what you do for the community
Yep.
and
Yeah, look, I also have to say that it's a great honor for me to actually be here. And like you said, to be the first one on your program, I think it's an honor. And I am really so pleased that, this is something that you wanted to do. This is something that you're so passionate about. And you've taken the time to invest in this and really wanted to have this conversation about things that are happening in the communities. So, to introduce myself, as you said, I'm Dennis Yengi. Dennis Yengi, the chairperson of the African Community Council of South Australia, which is really a peak body that represents communities from over 35 African countries.
wow.
So, for those who don't know, um, more about Africa. The African continent is so diverse. So you have countries from the southern part of Africa, like the Zimbabwe, Botswana. You go to the east, you got Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia at the Horn of Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo in the central, and then you go to the western part, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Ghana. So all these countries, they have communities here in South Australia, and that's what the African Community Council actually represent. There are a lot of things that we do as a council, and I'm happy to speak into that as well. But on the other side, I'm also a member of the South Australian Multicultural Commission.
Wow.
So the Multicultural Commission is a statutory body. This is a body that reports to the Minister of Multicultural Affairs, but it has been established by both sides of the government. So effectively, the commission is a voice to the government for over 200 multicultural communities that are presently in South Australia. So it really is about, telling the government what our multicultural communities in South Australia are saying, opportunities, issues in the community to do with the multicultural communities. That is another role that I'm quite involved in doing. And in addition to that, I am an accountant. I work for the state government. I've got a full-time job in addition to all this, so my life is a bit busy.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's a bit of me, but if you want to know more, I can probably even speak more about myself in other things.
Because there's a few times I've spoken to you in the gym.
Yeah.
I see you coming. I said, brother, how you been? How's your training going? Oh, I haven't had time.
Yeah.
I haven't been in for a week or so. I've got to take my daughter to tennis practice. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. But, you're doing well,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing really well. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, look, like you said, I've not been to the gym for the last probably 4 weeks now. And, I always try to think that, if life get busier, you can't afford not to be busy in physical exercises because it's very critical for your mindset to be able to function and juggle all these things that you're involved in doing. Yeah.
But has there been a point where, let's say even though you're a public servant?
Yes, I am.
But has there been a point where you're like, you know what, I've had enough. I'm going to take time out for myself.
The interesting thing is that when I went to uni, I made a deliberate choice or intentional choice that I will never work for a private sector. So I said I wanted to work for the public sector because I wanted to be able to give back to the communities.
Wow.
I wanted to be able to make a difference in the communities. Any business that is purely profit driven, I really don't have much intention in working for them. Although profit can also be used for a good cause, for making a difference in the communities. But I want to do something that I can actually see that difference happening.
Wow. And you want to change life.
Yeah, of course, that is.
And you are changing life because you know what? There was one time where and let me talk about it. There was one time where I couldn't get my, NDIS worker check.
Yeah.
And, a good person like you, you wrote me a letter. Just because of your letter, all this being who you are for all Africans, they look at it and say the good work that I'm doing, So things that you are doing well, but you just don't speak about it, only hello, but I've never heard it anywhere. Whether you've told someone or no, but I've never heard someone say, oh, Dennis did this for you. No, but you are doing well that people don't see.
Thank you, brother. I don't believe in really speaking about what I do.
Yes.
I believe that if I'm in this position, and this position is about the interests of the African South Australian, then I must do what needs to be done. I have many situations where not only a support letter, I had a phone call from people who are in detention center. They're about to be deported, needed some help from me. I had phone call from a mother who is pleading because 2 of her kids have run away and she doesn't know what to do. How can you help? I have people contacting me because they've been in this country and they couldn't find any job. They are struggling. How can I help them? I had also people who are on breaching visa. They've only got 3 months to live and they're in this country and therefore they needed support to be able to stay permanently in this country. Wow. I had mothers who are pleading to me saying, look, you have to do something about some of these issues that are facing young people. I've got this baby in my stomach. I don't want this child to be affected. Do something. Wow. So I get really voices coming for different things. Wow. And I do these things really passionately, not being paid for it. In most cases, I go to sleep after midnight or after 11:30 is the earliest. So after my normal job, I'm home trying to address this response to this. But you do these things behind the scenes. Not many people actually see these things. No. Sometimes they see you on a necktie, on the social media, and say, oh, he is just having awesome time. But it's a lot of work behind the scene.
Because I said to one of my friends, I said, what Dennis has done for me, me, retaining my clearance it's just not for me, It was also for my daughter, for my son, like the next generation behind me. Because imagine, like losing things like that. Yeah. Something that I've done maybe 10, 15 years ago, That's the thing about this country. I tell all the young people, you can't get away with anything. Sometimes when you're talking to the cops, they're trying to get reaction from you. Yeah. But just walk away. Just walk away. And when you tell them, they say, oh, like this. So I just leave them, But just to get out of topic, like, no, just you. When I was young, maybe you know him, a friend of yours, Juma.
Yeah, I do know him.
I was in trouble. I couldn't get my citizenship. Something I did in 2007. I went to Melbourne fighting. Yeah. So I wanted to get my citizenship in 2009, 10. Yeah. I couldn't get it because I had a warrant in Melbourne. That time, Juma used to work very close to me, Yeah. Because that's what I said. The job that you guys do, it takes a lot of patience to do it.
Yeah, and look, to also add, it's mainly not just me alone. We have a team. We have a team of executives that also work behind the scene. Wow. I don't want to be taking all the credits for all this work. We all do our bits within our capacities that we have been elected to do. And like what you said about, the incident that occurs to you, every young person have done something that they
Yes.
look back and say, that wasn't me, and learn from it.
Yes.
So when you came to me, and I've known you for a very long time.
Yeah, many years.
Since
yeah.
you were very young as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, the responsible kind of person you are, it really tells that story that we can make mistakes, but we can change and become even better
Yep.
from our mistakes.
Yeah. So I couldn't get my citizenship, and then I went to Juma. I said, Juma, what do I do now? Because the first time I went to Africa was I went on travel document.
Right.
I said, I've been here too long to be traveling to Africa on travel document, so I need to, because sometimes you have to face your problems.
Yeah.
You can't keep avoiding them, So you have to face them, fight it, and then get over it. So Juma was like, oh, I've got a friend in Melbourne that was doing the same job that Juma was doing there, like working between the African and the police.
Yes.
So he organized everything. He said, I'm going to call him. You're going to go to this police station. When you get there, they'll arrest you, and then they'll lock you up.
They will arrest you? Is that what he was saying?
No, yeah. Like, he set it up with the brother that was in Melbourne.
Oh, yes.
Another Sudanese brother.
Yes.
So I went there. I present myself to the police station. He was there. Are you able to call it? Yes. Bam. They arrest me.
Must have been scary.
It was programmed.
Right. You were aware of it.
Yeah, and that's what they normally do when you breach a warrant, or when when they're looking for you, when they grab you, they'll arrest you and then take you to court the same day.
Right.
And then from there, the judge will determine what happened. For me, I was so lucky. The first time I went to the court, the judge said, "Oh, you might go to jail for 2 years." My brother was crying. And I did nothing serious, just fighting between boys. But then I needed to go back to court. But then I didn't go to court.
Oh.
Yeah. So they said, okay, we rejoin your case, come back again. And then when I went back, I met the South African judge. That time I just had my daughter. And then he's like, what do you do? I said, I just had my baby girl. And then I'm in uni now. And then, I work, I have a family. And then he said, I've never seen anything on your record. This is the only thing that you have there. And just pay the fine, $500.
And that was it.
That's it. And then I came back here, applied for my citizenship. I got my citizenship.
Yeah, look, it's the system here. I think that's also one thing that we are trying to do. We have developed a program. This is a legal education program that we're going to roll out to all the African communities, not only within the Adelaide Metro, but also to the regional areas like Murray Bridge and Mount Gambier. This is about also educating our communities about some of these legal things, legal system here, like not showing up to a court or police station could lead to like a jail time.
Yeah, it can.
Yes, so I think sometimes we get ourselves into trouble, not for all the big wrong reasons, but for simple things that could have been avoided. And we are trying to create that awareness through this legal program that hopefully in a few months we can roll out.
Yeah. So how's your family life like? Like, what's your background? Like, how old were you when you came to Australia?
So I was born in South Sudan. But at the age of 7, we actually moved to Uganda because of the situation there. So while in Uganda, we were also very fortunate because my uncle had already moved to Australia in Adelaide.
He's the first African.
He's probably the first one here.
Because I remember him,
arriving here on the 28th of May, 1970.
Jesus.
Before any of us were born. So, and then I also have, my auntie joining him here in 91.
Wow.
So we eventually arrived here in 99.
I think I know your auntie.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know your cousin, Susan.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's my cousin as well. So, so when we came here in '99, I came obviously with my siblings. We've already got a family here, so life was a lot easier than most. You know, he was able to introduce us to a lot of things, and probably that's where all this community passion also started.
Because he was big into it.
Yeah, he was into it. Sometimes, I mean, wherever he goes, he always makes sure I go along. Sometimes when they're in the meetings, we get chased out. You know our African elders,
Yeah.
when they're talking, you don't have
You have
young
to,
people
yeah,
hanging
yeah, yeah.
around. You guys go outside. You know, elders are talking. But often when we are chased to go out, he will actually challenge them. Hey, how are they going to learn if we're chasing them out? And then he went and dragged us in again to listen what they are talking about. So it has been a very good experience for me. I think he is an inspiration
And
to me.
and I haven't seen him for a long time, but two of them, him and Mr. Masika,
Yes.
they are one of the most well-respected men in this place here.
Absolutely,
Yeah, 'cause-
absolutely. We have, there is, so in '99, when I came, the African community was not that big.
Yes.
They have few guys. There was a guy from Uganda who became the first chairperson of the African Community Council. His name is Dr. William Kagwa.
No, I don't think I know him.
He would have came to Australia in the '80s as well.
Wow.
And then there was another guy from Tanzania. This is before even Joseph Masiga. He was here, and then there were some Ghanaians guy. I know some of those guys up to now. They have a very small group of Africans back then, and Nigerians as well. So it was a very neat, small African community at the time. And yeah, so they really laid the foundation.
Yeah, they did. They did. Look at you now, like him telling the other people say he needs to stay in a group in the meeting. Look where it leads to.
Exactly.
You know.
I wouldn't have learned or gained so much passion from this. But again, I have not really shared so much about what I've learned during my childhood. This is probably the first time I'm opening out quite a lot to people about my childhood. So even when I was young, my father was a pastor in a church, in the Anglican church.
Yeah.
So our house always had people, like my cousins and everyone. They're always within the house.
Wow.
And then obviously when we left South Sudan at that very young age, we had to move to Uganda because of the conflict situation there. You know, we were part of the church. And this is where in the church, that is where I said I wanted to become an accountant. It was from the church. Because I was seeing this guy counting the money, you know. I was like, gee, they trusted this guy to count that money and take that money with him. I want to be that person one day. And that was really where the interest of becoming an accountant. So I've always been around like where I'm seeing people being helped or someone helping someone. So it becomes a part of my life. So when I go here, I really become passionate about this community and not really the African stuff, really about the indigenous as well, which is what my uncle did. So even right now, I work for the Department for Health and Well-being, and I work in this unit that is responsible for system change. How can we change the government system so that it actually responds to the needs of the indigenous community, the Aboriginal health system?
Wow.
Not the Aboriginal communities are adjusting to the government system. So they wanted to challenge the system and reverse it so that it can respond to the needs of those communities.
Wow.
And I think it's the same way with the Africans. You know, we've got our own challenges, but rather than the government crafting something and say, this is going to address your issues, how can the government and the communities actually work together, so that you actually develop a program that can work, not something developed for them without them.
Wow. And I think in that respect, one thing I really enjoyed from the government was they recruited a few of the respected people in the community as police officers.
Uh-huh.
So now when there's African events or soccer games or things like that, they send those people with other, Caucasian or police officers. So when there's a problem, instead of we saying, "Oh, she's talking to me racist," all this. If one of the uncles or Holocaust is talking to me, how can I say he's racist? He's just telling me how to get away from there. But most time we like to play that, card. So that's a very good way to, and there hasn't been much, crime or violence compared to back in 2009, 2010. Because I remember growing up here, there used to be two different gangs, NFL, and then boys from Cuban, and then boys from, the North. Every time you go to party, there's stabbing, all this. But yeah, everyone seems to be living in peace. People are growing, all this. I'm not saying there's no problem.
Yeah.
Because anywhere you have young people, there's always going to be problem. But it's controllable, compared to before.
Yeah. Just to go back to the point about the police. Actually, at that time, I was already working. That's probably a time that in the city, sometimes we see each other when you're catching a bus to go to uni.
Yes.
Or something. That was the time this job was advertised.
Wow.
In a community liaison officer. And I saw this job. I said, okay, Africa. And then I think Juma was in Tasmania at that time. So there were quite few people that actually then put their hands up for that job. So Juma would have been the first community liaison officer.
Yes.
But there has already been an African police officer who is currently my secretary actually. Teddy has served for over 25 years.
We go to the same church.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's
Correct.
a good man. Yeah.
So he is probably the longest serving African policeman in Australia, if not South Australia.
But he was not involved
Over
like
20.
now.
He was not involved. He was in the mainstream police system. So I guess the establishment of the community liaison officers is such a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot that the police need to do within them to understand the culture of the police, to be able to understand different communities better. But on the issue of that you alluded to about the gangs and all that, up to now, to be honest, I have not admitted that the African communities have gangs in South Australia. I do agree that we have young people who are involved in some extreme bad things. But when you look at the definition of gangs, they don't actually meet that definition. Definition of the gang, according to legislation, it says they must have a hierarchy. They have a president, they have a secretary, the leadership. Like the bikie gangs in South Australia that have been dismantled. They have leadership.
Yes.
Some of these young guys, a group of young people, and going and doing really bad, serious thing, which no one should support at all. But in terms of the gangs, and this is a mistake that sometimes they get really wrong. Why you see African young people going together in groups, and then people think that they are gangs.
No, but
that's a there is a misinterpretation, and also there is that what is the word? Mistaken groups that are considered as gangs, but simply because they are in a group. I had to one came to me. He was charged with an assault. It's purely because he was going through a group and someone has done something bad. And someone in the street got a CCTV and said that, he was him. He was taken to court, but the evidence wasn't him at all. He just happened to be passing there at that time.
Wow.
So we have some issues that need to be addressed in the communities. These issues cannot be addressed by parents alone. Communities need to work together. Even if your kids are so good, they're not doing anything, young people here, they don't differentiate.
No.
They don't say, I'm from Liberia.
No.
He's from, they all know each other as Africans.
And that's very true because you know what? I went to school, high school here, and sometimes because we minority in schools, all this, when you see another brother or sister from different, culture,
Yeah,
straight away, as long as they're black, we all belong together.
yeah,
For me, I used to relate more of Aboriginals and Asian,
yeah,
because back in 2003, Aboriginals and Asian would just be together,
yeah,
because a lot of them just want to be, because mothers are working 2 jobs.
yeah,
They go home, I think that's where something like creating like a homework, after school homework group, like would be very important for young people, so they don't have much time to spend on the street or, because the more time they spend on the street, hanging out, mom is going to work, father is going to work, they're trying to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
They don't want to stay home to look after the siblings, hanging out with friends on the street. They don't know who that friend is. Boom. Or, wrong place at the wrong time.
yeah.
And sometimes this innocent person can be there. There's a fight breakout. He get killed. He has nothing to do with what was going on.
Yeah.
But because he was there,
It's there are definitely a lot of things that are contributing to young people doing wrong things, and which is why in 2022 we've seen the issue of a young man being stabbed in the city, in the North Terrace. Wow. And because of that, that was actually one of my my biggest challenge. Wow. When I become the chair of this council. That was the time that I actually confronted the issues. I stood in the public, acknowledged that, yes, you can Google it on Channel 7. It's still there in the news. I said, we acknowledge that we have issues that need to be addressed, and we're going to do something to understand the root causes of some of these issues. We also have a big number of young people who are doing amazing things in the community.
Yes, that's 100%.
So there are only very few who are really doing wrong things. And when they do, they make all of us look so bad.
Yes.
So we need to really understand what's happening. Why are they doing these wrong things? So I formed this inquiry. This inquiry took us about 9 months.
Wow.
It has a former judge, it have a forensic psychologist, you have community leaders, you have a women voice, and all these credible people, really highly respected people, including the key government departments, like Department for Human Services, Multicultural Department, DPC, Department for Department for Premier Cabinet, and Multicultural SA. We involved them. So we did this inquiry over 9 months, where we speak to young people by themselves in different focus groups. We have mothers having the freedom to express themselves, to tell us what's happening. We have the fathers alone. We have community leaders alone. We also brought together about 14 NGOs, including key government agencies, together into one room. And we asked them, do you have a program that you're delivering to the African communities? And if you do, is it working? And if it's not working, what do you think is the problem? Because we wanted to challenge it. We're having these issues, and yet we know there are programs out there that are meant to support our communities. So it took us this 9 months. 9 months, we produced that report of inquiry. We presented to both sides of government. The Peter Malanaska's government, and at that time the opposition leader as well, because we believe that these are issues that need to be addressed by both sides of politics, not just one party. So we continue to advocate for the issues, and the issues are so many. We wrote about 39 recommendations in the report. You can go to our website, the African Community Council website, and download the report there, have a look and see what it says. So after a long advocacy in the last state government budget, the government did announce that they are going to allocate 2.5 million, 2.5 million to support and address some of these issues.
Wow.
But I always caution people that this 2.5 million is not coming to the communities. It's not that it's there for the community to do. This is earmarked for government departments as well to deliver specific things, like education department. One of the recommendations was to increase the school liaison officers in the education department. So there was one more additional position. That money also has gone to that. There were also issues that we identified to do with trauma. You know, like there's people come to Australia for different reasons. There are some who come as skilled migrants, but there are also some who came because of the
Refugee,
situation,
we came here.
humanitarian. So we have pre and post migration trauma. So some of that, obviously, government has allocated some of that funding to address that through one of the NGO. They've also used that money to employ a program manager for this African Empowerment Program. So this individual has been employed by the department to work across government departments and run some of these initiatives in the community. So that is really a result of this report of inquiry that we work. So the issues are complex, like some of them you mentioned, around parents going to work, they're busy, mortgage need to be paid, no time to see what the kids are doing. And you know what, that is really a trait that parents have to be aware of. Should I really be working so hard and building this nice house?
Hallelujah.
And then my kids are going to end up in jail. How can you enjoy this when your kids are taken away? So the balance is very tricky. But the responsibilities for parents is not only to establish a good life for them here, but also the demand from home, you know? It never stops.
But I think, like you said, you know, like, because I've watched a lot of talks. So one thing, what's his name? Joe Biden, you know, he said, if you want to know how successful you are in life, see how you raise your kid.
Yeah.
You know, because like you said, you referenced to it. He said, you don't want to have all this mansion, all this, and your kids, every time they're calling you to go and
visit them
in a mental shelter or in prison. You know what I mean? It breaks your heart as a parent.
It does.
And we have a lot of people in the community, which I can't mention their name here, where you see husband and mother, you know, wife working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
The kids are left alone. Now they've lost all of them. And then, what happened at the end? The 2 people separate. And then what happened? This one go get married to another one. This one go get married to another one. The older son is in mental health. The older daughter is the same. And then the whole family, you know. So that's what I say to people, you know. And that's one thing about, I don't think it's African, but it's human nature. Sometimes we like to, I wouldn't call it competition, but it's somehow competition because this person is living a certain way. I have to do it the same way so people can respect me, feel like I'm doing well. But people thinking that you're doing well, I think for me it's subjective. It's all about how you think.
Yeah.
If I'm raising my kid well, doing everything well,
That's a success.
they're involved into sport, they're doing things they love, they have good friends. We don't need to be driving brand new car.
Well,
you know, big house.
I always say that success is not defined by
All the
resources.
things that you have, yeah.
You know, what kind of car you drive, the house you live in. To me, that's not a success. You know, success, but people actually look at it differently. There are some people who see that as a success, but for me personally, I don't look at that. Now, okay, I've got a reasonable house, right? But you know, sometimes I look at it like, oh, you really need that spare lounge there.
No.
I don't even sit there most of the time. So I have that spare room there. Visitors don't come here more often.
Wow.
It comes down to necessity of life. And then all these other things that you mentioned, like the kids, how do you actually support them to be successful? Because and lay the foundation for them to be successful. I think it's good to still have that comfortable life. I'm not
Yes.
saying you have to drive really a bad car, but you know, know what is comfortable for you. And
Yeah.
don't push yourself in the expense
No.
of your little ones. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Nah, it's not. It's not. And that's why I say to people all the time, you know, like you gotta live within your means.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no point like you working back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back. You can't even see your kids. You know, like every important day of your kid life, you're not there.
And you know, it could also be that the opportunities in Australia are endless. You know, in Africa, there is no proper employment in most. Okay, it's there, but the opportunities are not there for everyone. Most people survive on like small businesses here and there, but here the opportunities are endless. You want to start your own business? It's up to you.
Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah.
You want to work 2-3 hours? It's up to
It's
you.
up to you.
You can still find those jobs. So sometimes too many opportunities become a problem.
Problem too. That's true. It can become a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. But I like how you said, you know, like you could have been by now, you know, because you've been into the accounting business for how many years?
Oh, yes.
Long.
Correct.
You know, so by now you could have had maybe 1 or 2, 3 accounting firm, you know. But then you look at it, you say, you know what, I want to save other people.
Yeah.
You know, so that's for you. That's more than to you. That's what you define as being successful.
Absolutely. I mean, there will be a few people who would take 15 months out of their good paying job to do something for others for free. You know, I did that.
Wow.
You know, and I don't really speak a lot about it, but I know that each one of us have got some responsibility to make a difference. If I make a difference, I don't have to make a difference in the entire African population here, but if I can make a difference in the lives of 1 or 2 persons, that is significant.
Yeah, because okay, for example, your uncle brought you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to make a difference in your life, so he brought you here. So imagine only you. How many people has he done that to? Right?
Yeah.
So he brought you here. So now you doing it for other people, and those people that you're doing it for will do it for
others.
you know. So when it's changing life, it's not always about taking everyone.
Yeah.
But at least you know you're helping. That's what I say to most people in Africa when they call me for money. I say, listen, I can send you money every month, $100, all this. There's no problem, but it will never change your life.
No.
You know. But the only thing that will change your life and help you and help your kid is what do you want to do? Like business? Do you want to go to school? You know, like do you want to do business? You know, things like that. You're not just doing it for me, but it's also helping not just your kid, but your grandkid. They're seeing you waking up in the morning looking forward to something, not just your kid, but other people in the community, you know.
Yeah.
You're changing, you're helping them, you know. Someone will come to you and say, look, my child haven't got school fee. Business is running good. Okay, I'll pay their school fee for this. You just change someone's life there. But not every time, give me. So, you know, what you're doing is, you might not change everyone's life. Like I said, when you wrote that letter for me, you didn't just do it for me. You know, you impacted my daughter, my son. So all those people, you know, they were impacted by your goodwill.
Thank you.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, thank you. I know that there are many Africans who are really doing similar things in their own capacity, who are making that big difference, particularly our community leaders.
Yes.
You know, You have Christian for the Liberian community.
Yeah, Christian, that's my brother-in-law.
Is he?
Yeah, my sister husband. Yeah,
He's a good man.
Yeah, very good man.
And you have other leaders from across the community. Dr. Emmanuel from Ghana, Albert from Sierra Leone. You have Ligese from Ethiopia, Felix, Zambia. All these leaders, including Possible from Congo. These people are also doing amazing things.
Yes,
We don't appreciate sometimes more what they do, but I know for sure that they are doing the best that they can as well. So imagine collectively if we all work together. And what I will continue to always say is for us to succeed here, we must all come together and work together as African people.
Very true.
We may succeed individually and have all this stuff, but our future is not really solid if we are not working together. And there are so many forces that are going to try to divide us. They're going to try to pull us apart. We're all different. Africa is a diverse continent. Leave alone that people have got different opinions.
Yes.
Let's disagree on some principles, some decisions. But when it comes to the collective interests of the African people, we need to work together.
That's true.
Otherwise, we are going to be the first generation in Australia that come into this country and do nothing.
Yes.
I say that because the Italian, they came here in the 50s.
Yes.
The Greeks came here in the 50s. They work hard together. They have established their communities. They are the most respected and influential communities in this country. But for us, the Africans, are we going to continue fighting among ourselves?
That's the problem.
And be remembered as the first generation. We are, you and I and others outside there are the first generation of Africans here. Are we going to be the first generation that came to this country and do nothing? Or are we going to be remembered like the Greeks and the Italians? They came collectively, they work hard, build the future for the future generation.
That's a very good point because, I like what like how you address it, because what's the blueprint are we leaving for the next generation? Like how can my, if we're still talking about differences, how can my kid, or your kid, say, what, don't worry about, from Sudan or from Liberia, but we all African, we all one unit. This is what I saw my father doing. This is what I saw my father doing, my mother doing. So I need to, be part of the same, But most time, we emphasize more on the differences than the unit being a big unit of things. Because I attended a few Sierra Leonean independent party recently.
Yes.
I wasn't impressed, and I wasn't talking to one of my other friends. And it's all based on they don't like this person because he's a leader. So they all decided not to, show up. And it happens in my community too, Like, I have the same problem too, I'll be honest with you. Christian is my brother-in-law. My sister, my real sister, is married to a Christian.
Right.
But CIA is a good friend of mine.
Right,
CIA.
I do.
Yeah,
He's the former chairperson.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he wanted to be there like Mugabe. So myself, I was going for CIA.
Right.
Because we said, oh, he's done well, he's been there. But everything has an ending. And sometimes for people to pull you out, take you out of things, it's better for you to take yourself out with respect.
Absolutely. Look, that is something that is constantly in my mind. It doesn't matter how good you are.
Yes.
You stay for too long, you spoil it.
You spoil it, yeah.
They say the dancer knows when to leave the stage.
Yeah, before the music ends.
Before the music
ends. Yeah.
So I certainly feel like, you know what, I'm giving my absolute best to this position, and the time will come, who knows when, Maybe this year, maybe until next year, when I will step aside, and somebody else will come in and do even better than what I have done. So yeah.
Who was there before you?
So there are about, actually, watch out. There's going to be a post coming out honoring the past leaders.
Oh, okay.
So before me was Mabok, Mario, Mabok Deng,
With
Mario.
the bow hair.
He's very tall. Yes.
Yeah.
He got his hair shaped most of the time.
My boy.
You would know him.
I know my boy.
You would know him.
He used to work with
He works with Centerlink. So yeah, so he has done the best that he could as well during his time. So I came in and then tried to do what I can. And so yeah, so time will come. But what I'm encouraging and telling people is that the African Community Council is not really the executives. It's not a chairperson. Forget about the titles. These titles are really there to hold someone into account. Something goes wrong, who is responsible? Chairperson, this and this and that. But when it comes to doing things, forget about those titles. You know, I don't want even to, like, when I leave, I don't want even to be called the former chairperson. I want to be an African, a member of like any other person. You know, because I think those titles are limiting the contribution of our people. Every African have got something that they could do to make the African Community Council great. But we need to dismantle this idea, this fear that, oh, he's a chairperson, he's a secretary, and therefore it's their responsibility alone. No, we need everyone, and the council is really every African person in South Australia.
I think that comes with prejudice, you know, because most people, because I don't get along with you, so I don't want to come around. Forgetting to know that, okay, you have the title, yes. But before you came along, this community was always there, you know. You will leave, this community will always be there. What am I benefiting from? What my kid will benefit from? My kid will benefit from? We all need to build it for this community to keep going. Instead of looking at titles.
It is an institution.
Yeah.
It's not about the person.
Yes.
The person might have a vision that you don't agree with. But as long as the vision is for the interest of the African people, it's not
majority,
for personal gain, you have to try to look at it.
To adapt.
Because to see that, you know what, sometimes people only jump on the train when they see the train is going. Even when we did this report of inquiry, nobody see the vision why we need to do this. So many people disagree. They say, oh, why can't we just do a research, you know, speak to a few people in there. They never really foresee the vision why I felt this inquiry need to be done. Because this is an evidence-based report. These are the real voices of people. We even interviewed some of those kids who are in the prison. Some of them can't even come to an organized place, but we make sure we actually go there to get into their mind. And you see what the report has done? Because it's been validated, it's critical, it is critical, and what the government responded by that 2.4 million, and it's making the difference in the communities.
Yeah, and you know, it happens during your term, but that's going to change. It's going to be there for 10, 15, 20 years or 30 years.
You don't see the outcome now.
No.
Those, it's a long-term outcome.
Long-term, but that's the thing about human. We always want short-term result. Forgetting to know that, you know, if I sacrifice now, you know, if I sacrifice 1 or 2, 3 years now, I can gain 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
But people don't see it like that.
Absolutely. I mean, it took so long. For, like when I came on board, obviously a number of things that we had to do. We have to make sure we develop website so we can connect with our people. We have to make sure the Facebook page that was there for a long time is activated. We will have to make sure that we actually take the community council to the people. We engage with the people. That's why, you know, you see me and my team in many of these community functions because we want to connect with them. Now, many people would know about how long the African Community Council has been in existence. It has been around for 23, 24 years.
Wow.
So we have to make it relevant to the people by actually by going out there and listening and sacrificing every single time we have to do what they feel need to be done. And there's so much that need to be done, really.
And one of the things with what's the guy? Uncle Josh.
Yes.
This guy has been serving me for almost how many years since he came to this country.
Yeah.
This guy has been, I was a very stubborn person.
He is amazing. Yeah.
I was a very stubborn person. But if I tell you people that have seen good in me from a younger age.
You're not stubborn anymore. I don't see that now.
People that saw me, Uncle George, Juma, Opi.
Yes.
Those people, you tell them all the worst thing about me, they will tell you, say, those people have done, I'm telling you, what they've done for me, it's more than anything.
But you know what? The credit also goes to you.
Yeah.
Because you made that choice inside you that I want to be different. I want to do things differently. If you didn't choose that, no matter what anyone can do, it will not make any difference.
That's true. And one thing you referenced before, you said, you talk about trauma when people come here, you come to a country, yes. And most people here came here with different families.
Yeah.
And when they come here, they start having problem on little money, sending money, all this. So you really have to have someone that can stand up for you as family or a guardian. So for me, that's what I always say to Juma. You're not Liberian, but the role you are playing in my life is just, it's everything. Like I knew his younger brother. What's his name? Johnny Walker.
Yes.
Me, Johnny Walker, and one of their cousin called Jacob.
Yeah.
We all used to be here. Jacob used to be driving Commodore party to party, Cogley Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then,
I remember Cogley Street, African nights.
Yeah. So, but when I met Juma, it was just instant connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just saw me differently. Like, imagine, and it's something, like I said again, it's something you said, trauma. If people don't have people that can help them,
it's it takes, it's not easy to understand the trauma that different people actually either come with or that they experience when they arrive here.
Yes.
Like it is really sad that we have all gone through these wars, these unending wars in many of these African countries. And the experience of leaving your home.
Your home, yeah.
And move to completely a different country, a different way of life is a challenge.
Very much.
A friend of mine told me, he's Vietnamese. He said, can you imagine bringing an elephant from Africa and drop the elephant here in the outback? Will the elephant survive? Probably not. That is the struggle that we all go through. Because our way of life, our environment there are different. We come here, we have to adapt. But probably that's a bit extreme. But what he's trying to say is that people have got some challenges when they arrive here.
Big challenges.
Big challenges. And some of them are also cultural, these intergenerational conflicts between the young people. There is a shift in power dynamics in the house. Back in Africa, fathers are the breadwinners. They bring the bread home. Here you find out sometimes mothers are making more money. They are the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Some fathers would feel like they are not useful, maybe. they are not respected because they are not bringing the bread as they would have done in Africa, and that can lead to issues within the house.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of a challenges. Some of these things I've been fortunate to learn because it helped me as a person as well to be a better person, to avoid some of the mistakes that I've really learned contributing to many of these issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think two months back, I met a young Indian boy.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying to me, he was talking to me, and then he said, "How's life for you?" 23 years old. I said, "Life is good, you know. I can't complain. Life is very good." He said, "Me, not so good." I said, "Why? You're too young, you know. You're still living at home." He said, "Yeah." He said, "But my mom do everything, you know. I feel like my father is useless."
Wow.
I said, "Why did you say that?" He said, "I see my father, he go do one job, he'll come home, he'll watch TV for 5 hours. You know, my mother is doing 2 jobs, come, cook, clean. You know, my siblings have to be ready for school. My father is just there controlling my mom, do that, do this, you know, control, you know, but the mother can't say anything.
Wow.
Everything, yes, 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 yes." He said, "I don't really like that. I want to move out."
Wow.
I said, "That shouldn't be your problem, you know. He's your father, first thing, you know. So, and that's something your mother need to talk to him about, you know. And sometimes you see, most time women wants to get a lot of things done because they see their friends outside.
Very fast. They want to get it done very fast.
Yeah, because their friends have a big TV, big couch, so they go visit them. Straight away, they start comparing in their head.
Now it's a housing
Yeah,
competition.
yeah, housing. Yeah, who's building
Who's
the
got
best
a mortgage?
house?
Who's
Yeah,
got a bigger house? You know, and then we create these pressures
Yes.
for ourselves, emotional pressure.
and then when you start talking to your partner, you know, she won't listen. You know, and yeah, women have, you know, and as always, you know, women should be respected.
Absolutely.
But I just told him, I said, brother, you just gotta, they're your parent, you know. You should never see any of them lesser than the other one, you know. They're both your parents. You know, you're a man too, you know.
Yeah.
So you should always respect your father. Your father is your father. He's gonna bless you to go out there to do good things,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a challenge for the older generation, the older generation that came to this country older enough. It's very hard for them to adapt to
Very
the way
hard.
how things are done here. You know, you come an older person as an already grown up. For some, it's really very hard to be in the kitchen. You know, like doing the dishes,
Washing the
and
dishes,
cooking.
yeah.
That is like completely foreign to us.
Yes. Fixing the bed,
Yep.
you know.
But I think we have to understand that even though it's, you know, in our culture, that's what the woman does in the kitchen. But seriously, if she has also been working and she's tired, we are both tired, we both
Wow.
just arrived from work, what is the difference?
That's
You know, why does she have to do it? She's also tired.
why does she have to come from work, wash the dishes,
Yeah.
go pick up the kids from
Correct.
childcare?
Correct.
Why? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
So we also have to try to adapt and support. If you are doing, if she's already tired and you arrive home earlier, try to do something.
Put the rice in the rice
Yeah,
cooker.
yeah.
You know, because that's the thing. You know, that's a very good point, because a woman will come, you know, do all this. She come from doing 8 hours or 12 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
And then cook, finish cooking, pick up the kids from childcare, finish doing all this, save the man, and then the man will turn around again. He wants to be intimate with her in the room, and then when she say no, say my wife is being mean to me. But how about if you help her cook, pick up the kid, little gestures, like little good things, you know what I mean? Like she will never have problem with you doing. But if she finish doing all these things and she have to wake up in the morning again by 6 o'clock to get the kid ready for school before she can go to work, you think she will let you touch her?
Yeah.
No, she will say no. You know?
And it's natural that when you're tired,
Yeah.
you don't have the energy. You
No.
just want to rest.
You just want to rest.
Yeah.
But, it's good. So how many kids do you have?
I have three.
Oh,
I have three kids. You know, I'm also very lucky that I have a very supportive woman. You know,
Wow.
with all this stuff, I would not have been able to do all this if my wife was not like very supportive.
She has to be very
People-
supportive because the role that you have, it's
huge.
a very big role.
You know, people say that women must be empowered, but I also think that women are actually empowering men. Because if I wasn't empowered by my wife, I would not have been able to do all these things. You know, she doesn't really. She chooses to be more of a family person, a very private person, and that's what I do as well with my family. I try to keep them separate. I try to protect them by not dragging them a lot into some of these public things that I do. You know, but they're very critical. They're very critical part of my life. I probably spend 5 days on the road with my daughter for tennis.
Wow.
To me, that's a very precious time that I spend in the car talking to her about life, trying to tell her to not take things for granted. Sometimes I talk like she's an adult, telling her what I'm doing, you know, and hopefully she also sees something and learns something from me. Yeah.
And you know, that's what they say. They say if you want to have a successful life, you have to pick your wife wisely.
Yeah.
You know, don't always go for how the physical look is outside, you know. And sometimes that comes with sometimes too with the family that she comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is her mother or father.
Yeah, look, you know, beauty is a very strange thing. People see beauty differently. You know, the same person, you can see a beauty in her speech, her physical appearance, in her eye contact, and that is a very unique thing. And when you make the choice about the person that you wanted, it's not always going to be easy.
No.
I can tell you, if anyone is saying that they are 110% without any challenge in their house, they're
They're
not
lying.
telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because I say it like this, I'm not a counselor by any training about family and stuff, but people are completely different. You know, even like brothers and sisters,
Brothers, you
you're
always
different.
clash.
You are
Yeah.
born differently. But leave alone like a husband or a wife that come from a different, and suddenly you have to be together.
Together, yeah.
Right? Things are always not going to be easy, but how do you actually overcome that? How do you compromise? You know, how can you always think that you are right 100%? This is my way of thinking, not necessarily in the family, but sometimes I leave room, even though I'm quite confident about something. I leave room that okay, I shouldn't be 100% in my mind that I'm correct, because there's a possibility that I might not be, and that led you to be able to compromise sometimes. There are also principles that I cannot break, and these are the things that sometimes I'm actually prepared to put my reputation on the line, you know, and people can hate me for that, but I know that it is the right thing to do. Maybe not for me, or could be for the maybe, but for the community. And this is where sometimes I challenge people, and some people might not appreciate that, but it's very critical to have those principles that you draw the line
Yeah.
as well.
But people will not always like you.
Yeah.
If everyone like you, then there's a problem. You know, the only way you will grow as a person is you have to have people that don't like you.
Yeah.
So then when they challenge your opinion or your saying, you know, you as a person, you sit back and then reflect on it.
Mm.
You learn from it. Yeah, even though, you know, I learned that. I learned this. But life as a whole, everyone will not like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, to be fair, we are not perfect.
No.
We can make a mistake. But if the mistake arises from making a decision with the right intentions,
Yes.
then I'm happy to live with that.
Wow. That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
So how's the African Cup going?
That's a massive one. It's a big success for last year.
Last year was good.
Actually, there are a number of things that I could talk about.
Yeah.
African Cup is one. Africa Day coming up on the 17th of
On
May.
the 17th.
Have you got your ticket?
Not yet.
You have to.
Yeah.
It's going really fast.
Yeah.
This year, I think maybe 500 people or
Wow.
more. And it is best to get there. We got less than 3 weeks to go.
Yeah, it's
17.
on May 17th.
Correct. And we probably run out of the premium area where we have tables set up.
Wow.
It might be overflow to the upstairs seating. So the earlier
earlier is
you
better.
get, the better for that. It's amazing. This is where we celebrate the success of African, you know, in South Australia. From young people, businesses, communities, trailblazers, and so many other things. So that's one. After the Africa Day on the 17th of May, I mean, you can go to our Facebook page to actually get the details to grab your ticket.
Yeah.
And then in September, we have the Unmasked Festival, which is
Unmasked
happening at the Victoria Square.
Yeah.
That's another big one as well.
That's getting
All
huge.
day, it's
Yeah.
getting better. We are also thinking of how can we actually innovate and bring in new ideas
Wow.
from the previous ones. And then African Cup
African
in
Cup.
October
Yeah.
coming up. This is really one that has taken us 3 years to get to where we are now. It's been 3 years of planning. So, as most people would know, this cup has been managed by Football SA
Yeah.
for a considerable number of years.
Yes.
And I'm also proud that I was actually one of those first people who kicked the African Cup ball when it was started in 2000.
Wow.
I was here. So I played in the first 5 years until this dude called Ali from Liberia killed me. I was, I'm a central defender.
Yeah.
But this dude, man.
But back then,
gee,
South Sudan was good.
South Sudan was, wow, we won it like
Then,
3 or 4.
you
We
guys
won
had
it 4 or
then.
5 times.
Yeah.
But Ali was so good. That was in 2005,
No,
2004, 2005, 2006.
2006.
Ali was good. He was like on fire because I'm a central defender,
Yeah.
All those attacks. I'm the last person to clear it. So he smoked me.
Yeah.
But and after that, you know what? I retire.
Back then we couldn't make the Liberian team.
Yeah.
So I used to play for the Tanzanian.
Okay.
Yeah, Tanzania.
Yes.
With those, the likes of Peter.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to go to Tanzania because Liberian team was big.
Yeah.
But before that, Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia was dominating.
No, we dominated it for like 4 or 5 years. We won it. I still got the trophies like right from the start.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of good. Then was good.
Yeah, he was very good.
Yeah, then John.
Yes,
John. Yeah,
John Amanya.
he was very
he's
good.
Around.
Yeah.
So we really have some outstanding talent.
Yeah.
And really, it's good to see how it has grown over these 2 decades here. And last year was really the pinnacle of that growth because what happened was we realized that it was losing its meaning when it was managed by Football SA.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just football. I remember the coach of Cameroon was not allowed to take his mandazi to the squads. I don't know what do you call mandazis in Liberia?
Mandazi.
The puff.
Or kala.
Round one, right?
Yeah, kala. Yeah,
These
kala.
are nice, our traditional food.
Yeah.
But they didn't let him take it. because they want them to be
To
buying
be selling their food, yeah.
buying food, and we were not allowed to have our music. Say, look, the African Cup was formed to really bring people together.
Yes.
But when you come together there, and then what happened? Is embrace each other's food, music,
Friendship,
celebrate.
yeah.
That's what it's all about. But then Football SA was having different ideas. He said, oh, actually the CEO was telling me that the African Cup is their tournament. The Africans are just participants in the tournament. I said, can you say it again? Repeat to me. He said, well, Adelaide City was started by Italians. Now they own it. I said, well, this is different. This is a community tournament. This is not a club football. So we challenged them, and we knew there was a problem. But I also didn't want the tournament to lose its quality. I just don't want to say, let's move away and goes down. We have to put all the preparation, groundwork for the last 12 months, prepare everything.
Wow.
So last year, it was a time that we feel
You broke
it's
away.
enough. We need to come back to the communities.
And last year was good. And I think before the tournament, I had a chat with you in the gym. Because I was hearing a lot of rumors. I said, oh, this, that. You know people now. People always have, people always want to say all the bad things.
Yeah.
You know, like we said before, people never really want to look at the long term.
No.
They always want that dopamine, you know, that instinct, you know, like when it's happening, all this. Forget everything about, if I face the challenges now, tomorrow I can relax and enjoy more.
Yeah.
There's more enjoyment tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But people was like, oh, but I really enjoy it. I'll be honest with you. Before that, I was like, those are white people used to fix it. They will never be like that or this. But then when I talk to you in the gym, you give me your perspective. I was like, you know what? It actually makes a lot of sense. But before that, someone said me, oh, they haven't booked referees, how they haven't done this, and the tournament is tomorrow. I said, no. Those people that are running the tournament, they are smart people.
Look, they are Football SA did everything to spoil it. They wrote email to every single club in South Australia not to allow the African Cups to play in this tournament. Last year, they said they don't know the nature of the surface where they're going to play. There are no official referees that they have given. There's no players' insurance. There's no this and this and this and this. And then we were laughing. And because we know that this was going to come. So we obviously did our homework. We know this is all covered. Say, look, don't worry about it. Everything is under control. We have our contingencies planned. We have all the right people, and the communities were behind us. The playing groups were behind us. So people know the experience that they went through with Football SA was not the best one.
Because
we appreciate them for what they have done over the years. But it has reached a moment that they have actually lost a bit of the focus. And we had a number of meetings, mediation meetings, but it never really yield any outcome. I can tell you, in 2023, there was a time where I was about to say, we are not going to have this tournament this year.
Wow.
Because we had an agreement that there was going to be food, African food, north, west, south, and east, at least minimum. Your kitchen can still stay, but Football SA said no food, zero. Everyone have to go there and buy their food. I said, no, this can't continue like this. You know, this is our tournament, and we're not telling our people to boycott the kitchen, but we're saying, you know what, we want to experience the food from the West Africa, from the East Africa. That's our way of life. That's the culture. They were really refusing. I've got the judge of the district court to reach out to them because he's a former chair of Football SA, the patron of African Community Council. He spoke to them, he still refused. So what I did, we call an emergency meeting. All the 40 communities and players were there. We told them what it is, and we agreed that nobody's registered in team until there was an agreement. 3 weeks to go, CEO called me, Dennis, what happened? We have not received any players registration. I said, you know exactly what needs to be done. I have nothing to present to the communities if you're not accepting the food. I said, but it's to do with these health inspections. And I said, no, we sorted all that with the Department for Health. There's nothing. Their licenses, people have got licenses to sell food. So unless you agree for us to have the African food, I have nothing to present to the playing group. We may not have this tournament this year again. So I said, okay, let me come back to you in 5 minutes. Go back and say, oh, you can have the food. And then we have players registration going in. Mm-hmm. And that's where the community strength is above anything. Mm. If you're united, no matter what it is, you will succeed. Mm. Individually,
it's hard.
It's very hard.
It's hard.
Yeah. So the African Cup is back to the communities, is much better, but we do need volunteers. My team was overstretched from 7 a.m. Wow. to 11 p.m. at night for 9 days and no pay for it. Even the rubbish, small rubbish, they have to be collecting.
But those people should be rewarded doing this.
When
like
we
May 17.
collectively, we could make it easier. If you see something down on the floor, pick it up. Because if you don't pick it up, we don't clean the place, we might have issues with the venue in the future.
Yeah, next year, yeah.
And then comes to the final, we said, it's a big exercise. It's a very costly exercise. It's almost 100 grand to run this AFCON tournament. The players' fees is only 31K. So where do we get the other ones? There's no grant sitting everywhere to be able to cover all this. You say, oh, why don't you write a grant and cover the difference? There's no available grants to run these things in the way it is at this particular moment. The opportunities have been explored, but we said, look, to show that contribution, that volunteering, if we have people who are volunteering from 9 to 11, from 7 to 11, on the grand final, why can't we ask people to pay $5 as their small volunteering contribution? Not to even pay anyone to collect the rubbish because it's not going to be enough, but to contribute towards the difference. It was a big outcry. Oh, now you're starting to charge, what you bring to the community. But you think about it, it's not that much when you consider people that are already investing. Anyway, we introduced it, and it was nothing. People didn't even feel it because when they go to the canteen, they're paying almost 30 for a bucket of chips and fish and chips. So it was grateful. At the end, grand final, people didn't really have issues, maybe one or two, but majority of people were really awesome. They were very supportive, they were cooperating, and we really applauded them. We applauded the general African communities here for really standing together. It was a beautiful experience.
No,
it was calm. There was, could you believe it, that in the previous years, after the grand final, when people are celebrating dancing, sometimes they turn the power off when the music system
forget about that. As soon the tournament is over, two music, everyone have to leave.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the beauty of the tournament?
And people are getting pushed out like we're animals.
Yeah, but what's the beauty of the tournament?
Exactly.
It's the music from Sudan, from East Africa, West Africa, North Africa, South Africa, the food, like the friendship, relationship, people that you haven't seen for so long, they come there. There was a guy from African-American guy, he's married to a white woman.
Yeah.
They live in Burnside. But this guy always he'd been bringing his kid to African Cup for 3 years now. So before the last one, he asked me, why no African food, no music, it's all these fish and chips. This is supposed to be about Africa, you know, black
Exactly.
people. I'm like,
Exactly.
I say, why everything has to be? I'm not saying white people should not do it,
Yeah.
but there's things that they can do to play
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
part.
yeah.
But why everything?
Yeah.
It's like everything paper, you know, the paper, everything is structured.
It was sad. It was very sad.
So he told you, he said, my kids really like to come here, you know, this, but it's too, hey, you know, like,
no karma, no, it is not chill.
no.
People were like, this is not, they don't belong here, kind of experience. So it was very good. A lot of work, but definitely it was, to me, the way to go. It's almost demonstrating to South Australia that Africans can actually do things for themselves.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be someone doing things for us.
You can help us, but we can do on our own.
We can do it ourselves.
And I feel like what next to it, like since now, you know, like, because with the football, you know, it's good for people to go and showcase their talent. Because in the community, you know, we have a lot of young talent that can sing, can rap, you know, like can do other different things. For me, what I was thinking, why not just emerge those talents, you know, like on the grand final day, you know, have few people, local artists, perform before, you know, the actual, you know.
Yeah, look, definitely, you know what? There are a lot of things. We still have a long way to go. It was perfect. But when it comes to the experience, which to me matters more than even the football on the, on the park, our focus was, the reason why we took it away from Football SA, it's because the tournament was lacking the experience.
Yes.
Big time. The food was not there, the music was there, the entertainment. It was meant to be almost like a festival when people come there. So these are some of the ideas that we're looking into incorporating it. You know, we have a lot to do in terms of the planning, logistic, but those enhancements to make it much, much better, you know, they are going to come. The other one you would have seen also the branding of the tournament. That's what we are also working on. You would have seen we've got with the sports center during the day, we have caps with the AFCON, we have little pieces that have the AFCON brand.
Yeah.
We want people to take it and that really continue to grow beyond the tournament. So the experience that you talked about, even the opening and closing ceremony,
yes,
I introduced that in the last 2 years.
Wow.
It was not perfect, but I said, this has to be the way to go.
It has to be.
And every year, we're working on perfecting it, making it better and better. And the same way, like how the AFCON started, it has gone from here to there.
It's growing.
With the experience, I think with time, with the right ideas and feedback, we can make it even better. You'll be surprised. Some people come from interstate to actually watch the AFCON.
Believe it or not, Adelaide is the only state that people every year, people are preparing to come to Adelaide for African Cup.
And we have to present the show for them when they come here and really experience it.
Yeah, because every other state, I'm telling you, here African Cup is the best.
Yeah.
Compared to any other state.
The quality, and it speaks for itself. You now look at the internationals that have come out of this tournament. If they are not playing for Australia, they're playing for their own country in Africa. See?
Or Adelaide United.
Or Adelaide United.
Look at the Somalian boy from the previous
and then he went to play for Somalia national team, Yusuf. He went to Somalia, represent Somalia.
Wow.
And Elvis representing Burundi. And you have, you know, the one that are playing for Australia now. Nori Kusini, my cousin. Is playing for Australia.
Look at the Touré brothers.
Striker. You got the Touré brothers.
You
got Nestre. He also played here, just like the year before.
Yes.
Thomas Deng, who captained
Sudan.
The first captain. The first Olympic Olyroos. The first captain of the Olyroos from South Australia. he played in this tournament.
Yeah, Peter, because I used to play with Peter, his big brother.
You see?
We used to play at Adelaide Olympic together, yeah.
So we have a lot of success. So my hope is that one day we'll make a documentary about these players who have really gone on from this tournament.
Mabil came from there.
Of course, he played from
T-Boy started very young. Yeah, no, that's...
So we have really good stories. And those stories, I don't honestly feel that they have been celebrated enough.
No.
It's not enough celebration of the success that comes out from AFCON and our communities in general. You know, it's a lot of focus on negative things.
Negative, yeah. Like I was talking to, no, this was actually from, because I have a lot of Sudanese friends.
Yes.
I hang out with more Sudanese than even Liberian. Like my day-to-day friendship.
Yes.
Sudanese, you know. Liberian, you know, we made party, yeah, you know, because sometimes you have to leave your own people
Absolutely.
to go, you know.
Absolutely.
So one of my friends, I think Liberian or Sierra was saying, no, because one of my friends came from Mara Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in Sudan right now on holiday. He came, he's sleeping on the couch there. And then I have another friend, he was in a detention center for 7 years, he was being deported. He was about to get deported, but the family fought because he served, I think, 8 or 9 years. And then, so that was my first time meeting him. This my friend brought him. So they're sleeping on the couch here. And then I'm having barbecue, because I normally have barbecue outside.
Yeah.
So this guy called me outside. Why are you having those people? I said, what people? They are going to smash everything. I said, no, these guys are my friend. You know, if I have to have any worry, it would be you, but not them. You know? I said, why all this, you know, like, he said, you don't know Sudanese? I said, you go to every university in this country, you see Sudanese are graduating with law.
Yeah.
How many degrees, how many masters, how many PhD? And not because you're sitting here. I tell them, Sudanese contribute to this country more than any other African, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like sport, everything, you know. So for me, I say to him, so those people, when they drink, they don't know you. I say, nah, it's not true. Yeah. They're more loyal to me than you that talking to me.
Yeah.
I tell them, you know, oh, look, go tell him to get. I said, no, he's my friend. He's a little bit intoxicated, so I have to take care of him. You know, so, but people always want to see the negative, even among ourselves, you know, like you said before, sometimes we fight each other, look down on each other. Life is not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, brother, thank you for coming. This was really eye-opening. And,
it's a pleasure to, you know, have this conversation. You know, I'm a kind of person that, you know, is always willing, you know. I'm like open, you know. I go to wherever I'm needed, you know, because I think we just need to create that connection within ourselves. We need to believe in each other. Somebody is passionate about something, we need to support them.
yes.
It doesn't matter. Sometimes people look at, what do I get out of that? For me, we just have to look beyond the mere interest, you know, look at collective interest. If my brother is succeeding, trust me, one day he's going to be the one supporting these communities.
Yes.
I even look at the businesses that we have. We say, look, the only way for us also to progress and succeed is when the African businesses are doing so well.
Yes.
Because if they're doing so well, they become our sponsors,
Yes.
they become our employers. We can then progress. So for me, really supporting, you know, any initiatives, individuals, it just comes natural to me. And even if I'm not with the African Community Council, I will still continue doing things that I love to do in the community. So so thank you for having me.
No, I really appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming. I really appreciate you coming. So I'll invite you on a more.
Yeah.
You know, like, we'll have more meeting on here.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
You know, like whenever you have a free time, you want to.
Sure.
You know, like just hit me up. You
Absolutely.
know?
No worries. No worries.
Just
at
hit me
all.
up. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Tony,